Line's good.
Never on.
Whoa.
Hard. Hardly.
Come on, Brent.
Line's good.
Got real close.
I hear high, right?
Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Ooh, welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham Scott alongside, as always. Hello, Scott.
Hello, Sean. Happy Monday morning to you. Did you deal well with the curling double feature that we had last night?
Yeah, very exciting. The curling double dip here in East Coast time. 7 o'clock for the Scotties final, 8 o'clock for the final mixed doubles round robin draw. I did double screen it. Scott, which game did you have on your big screen?
Well, I started with the Scotties game on the big screen, and then as it got less close, I shifted it to the lower one.
Okay.
What the heck is that? And pretty much until the end of the mixed doubles game, I had it on the big screen. You know, I was watching Christina McCarville make her comeback, and I thought, oh, maybe, and so I had the volume, you know, switching between both. Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was an exciting evening, certainly, of curling, and a couple of results that were, I don't know, and tough finishes right at the end for Canada in the mixed doubles, for Chris McCarville at the Scotties, and they literally were within minutes of each other, the two misses to end both those games. So it was quite a night for curling Twitter, and I signed off early after I saw people starting to dance on the graves of the mixed doubles team. But that is a discussion for us, at least for another day. Scott, let's talk about the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, as Kerry Einarson has become only the fourth woman to win 3 consecutive Scotties as a skip. Quite the accomplishment for her and her team, and yet somehow she has yet to play in a normal world championship. And that may still be the case after this year's event. See what happens out there in Prince George. But she was pretty emotional after the game. Obviously, there weren't people there last year to celebrate with. There were some folks there this year that she could celebrate with. But Scott, what did you take away from the week? And let's start with Kerry Einarson and her team winning the third straight.
Well, they were the odds-on favorite once the playoffs shook out the way they did. Even losing that game Friday night, after she beat Fleury on Saturday, I said, well, she's just won her second Scotties, and she still had 2 games to play. Like, the way that the 1-2 game went down, there was no way that Andrea Crawford's team was going to bounce back from that, in my mind. Just like a devastating way to lose. And so the way that Kerry Einarson's team, that Team Canada, can play, you just thought, okay, they're going to be in the final. And the way that Team Northern Ontario played all week, it didn't inspire me with a lot of confidence, because they got through winning on mistakes. And Kerry Einarson don't make too many mistakes. So
no.
Yeah, that's I mean, it was a pretty dominant performance all week. You don't have Rachel Homan there to, you know, sort of stand with her. Laura Walker's team disappointed as sort of the next team to come, and then Tracy Fleury misses the whole week. So
yeah.
of the teams that you expected to be at the top, like, they were the only ones that were all there and got out to a strong start and just kept the pressure on.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit in the preview, where 2018, it was a weird Olympics, a weird Scotties, because of the Olympics, where you didn't have Rachel Homan there. Caitlin Laws wasn't playing. We should note that Shannon Burchard is unbeatable at Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Apparently, she can't beat her. She's 4 for 4. If you count that 2018 win, which of course you should. When you miss those people, it does give the event a weird feel, and certainly 2018 had a strange feel to it, and this one had a weird feel to it as well, because obviously you're missing Jennifer Jones. Rachel Homan's team is not complete. Ali Flaxey stepping in the second position calling line. You have Emma Miskew, who's never skipped before, trying to do it. Selena Negevin gets pushed into skipping in the last minute, becomes the second team all-star somehow, which is kind of incredible. So it was just such a weird feeling event. And I know for me, I didn't get into it the way I usually do. The Scotties is my favorite event on the calendar every year, and I just couldn't get into it in the same way this year. And I don't know if part of it was the players who weren't there, the weird feel of that, the no crowd, which was tiresome after the bubble was mildly interesting with no crowd. This one felt, it was just kind of sad. I also live in downtown Ottawa, and it has been a mildly busy week in downtown Ottawa, if you want to put it that way. So I don't know how much of the local circumstance here affected my enjoyment of the event, but I just never really got into it until Friday. And Friday was the day. Like, Friday was great, top to bottom for me. Like, from the morning game, that tiebreaker, into those seeding games on Friday night. Like, that was a lot of fun to watch. But I think the other reason that I struggled to get into it was, as the week unfolded, as you're saying, it just became so clear that this team was so much better than everybody else this week, that nobody was touching them. And they didn't necessarily blow people out every game, but from the games we saw, and then obviously on the updates, no one really had a realistic chance of beating them throughout the course of the week, late in games. Like, there was never a moment where you're like, ooh, maybe. Like, sure, Andrea Crawford gets out to that big lead in the playoff game, but it's clawed back relatively quickly, right? So, they weren't really in jeopardy late in games, except for the game they lost, and that was a game that, well, okay, who cares?
Exactly. They picked the right one to lose. If you talk to Tracy Fleury's team, they picked the wrong one to lose at the trials. So it's all about timing, and when you have your bad game, and they did have a bad game. That was 1, 3, 4, 5 stolen points out of the 8 that New Brunswick scored that game. So, that was them sort of hurting themselves. And I said at the outset of this, they don't make a lot of mistakes. Well, they'd gotten them all out of their system, it would seem, in that game, and came back. They had the rocks that they were comfortable playing with. Everything just seemed to line up perfectly for them.
Yeah, and they're really good, Scott. Like, we've talked on the show before what's going to happen in the off season, how many teams are going to break up and shift. Obviously, this team did not have the trials that they wanted to have, really struggled there. But it's going to be tough, I think, for them not to continue to play together, given how good the overall quad has been for them. They've been really good on the slam circuit, on tour, obviously 3 Scotties championships. And I believe the other Scott, they didn't play in 2019. I feel like they lost in the tiebreak, or not the tiebreak, in the wild card game in 2019. So, just the record that they have compiled over the past 4 years is really quite remarkable. And will they want to continue? I kind of hope so. They're a fun team to watch. They're, I think, very likable, with my apologies to my friend Sabrina. I do think this is a pretty likable team, all 4 members of it. And it would be unfortunate, I think, if they broke up, because they have a chance to do something really special next year if they choose to play together.
I think so. I think the only thing that could derail them, is life. Maybe you want to take a break from performing at this high a level, but you're right. I don't see any reason why they can't stay together and make a push for the Olympics 4 years from now. They're definitely skilled enough. They're very talented. Seeing them evolve as a team, Val playing third has been really good for her. Seeing Brienne Mayer is an excellent lead. She's there with like the right comments to the people that need it at the right time. Just a great sweeping eye. And then you say Shannon Burchard, she just goes and wins Scotties. So amazing team. And if I think about them in context of the Jennifer Jones 08, 09, 2010 team, maybe this team is a little bit better top to bottom, but it definitely in the same conversation as that team. And then going back to Colleen Jones, I think the team now that has a lot more competition in the field at the women's level. So I would say surpassing that the greatness of that Colleen Jones team.
Yeah, it would be incredible if they could pull off 4 in a row. And next year, who knows what the field will look like. There are going to be some changes. And I think that's one of the things that they're going to have to talk about. Or I wonder if it actually be a factor now that I think about that. Like, would what the women's field is going to look like over the next 4 years influence their decision? Like, do they think that the 4 of them are good enough to take on all comers in whatever form this is going to take? Because other teams you'd think are going to improve. My guess is that there's going to be a consolidation of the top players, and maybe some folks will take their model and we'll see some skips go into other positions potentially. So is that a factor for them, or they just say, come on, try to beat us? Because so far you haven't been able to at the national championship, and we're going to take another run at it and see what we can do in November of 2025, barring any scheduled changes from Curling Canada.
Yeah, that's to me that's the sensible way to go, right? You don't get the crown unless you kill the king, or what's the saying? Like, come and get it, right? Like,
yeah,
this is our championship. We own it. You got to beat us. We're not going to make
take
any
it
changes.
from us. Like, be better than us. Like, right now we're better than you, and you got to come and meet us at our level, because right now nobody is.
Not even really close right now. I mean, Team Holman has been there the last couple of years, but the change they made, taking Lisa Weigel out, seems to have not worked for the first couple of years. We'll see what changes come to that team, if any. Yep. And otherwise, Tracy Fleury's team is good. I would expect them to keep going, but who else? Like, Laura Walker's team is also really good, not quite there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Mackenzie Zacharias obviously did a lot better this year than she did last year. Is that a team that's going to continue to improve in Manitoba? Are there any other junior shuffles or people just out of juniors from the last quad who want to keep playing? And, is there anything that comes out of that? Potentially, I don't know. Or do you have something? Again, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but Shannon Burchard and Brianna Mayer, like, they were skips, but they weren't top level. Like, they weren't at the top of the CTRS points or anything. So could you have a situation with people like Jacqueline Harrison, Holly Duncan in Ontario, where they come together in a similar fashion? Danielle Inglis, like, could those type of players come together and form a team that could potentially rival those other top teams? That's something that I might look at if I was in one of their positions. Ali Flaxey is another one, another name that comes to mind in that type of a role. Now, the problem with that, of course, Kerry Anderson had already got to a Scotties and had some level of success before this shift. So it's not as simple as take 4 skips, put them together. You got to take 4 skips who can play those positions, understand the roles, and can do it. But as we sit right now, they are certainly the top of the table in Canada, and it's going to be a challenge for anybody to take them down. And this is why, too, Scott, it was a reminder to me of why I like the format of the national championship, where Tracy Fleury's team is number 1 in the world, and rightfully so. They play a lot, and they win a lot on tour. But Kerry Einarson wins the signature event in Canadian women's curling, and she's done it now 3 times in a row, and she gets to go. And that, I like that, line them up, see who wins.
Yeah. That's usually the best way to figure it out, right? Line them up, see who wins. So when we talk about, how dominant Kerry Einarson has been, shifting the conversation a bit, Sean, to the team that she beat on Sunday night, this Christina McCarville rink is very, very good.
Yeah.
They practice with a purpose. They can make all kinds of shots. I will say that they had what I think they would say was a disappointing week and still made the finals.
Yeah, I think this might be one of the worst silver medal performances you've ever seen. they really struggled through the course of the week. They barely
Yeah.
beat Nunavut. It took an unfortunate tumble by the Nunavut second for them to win that game. The games were close. We saw the same thing as we saw during the trials. Krista putting draws through the house, some missed sweep calls over the course of the week.
Yeah.
Kendra Lilly wasn't at the top of her game over the course of the week, and certainly wasn't the top of her game yesterday. They just didn't have it the way that we've seen them have it before. And the thing is, when they've had their best games, they've been beaten by people like Kerry Einarson before. And then this week, they didn't have their best game, and they almost got there. It's kind of a cruel irony of sorts.
Yeah, sports is weird, right? Like,
yeah,
I think if you put truth serum to any of those four ladies, they would say we're disappointed with our week. If you blacked out their memory and said you know nothing of what medal you won, they would say we're disappointed with that week, right? Getting through and into the 1-2 game and then into the final made me think, okay, maybe there's a chance, right? They don't have to do the grind that they've had to do before. But the downside of that was that they weren't really sharp all week. And so sometimes the grind is good when you're not sharp, right? Because you're just playing. You're not sitting around thinking about it. You're just going out and doing it and getting better and pushing aside some of the things that might get in your head otherwise. Do you think that it was a case of mental mistakes, or was it physical mistakes for this McCarville rink?
That's a good question. I don't know. I because you wonder how many of the physical mistakes were caused by something mental, right? Putting something through the house. How much of that is just a lack of focus in the moment potentially, or not having tracked the ice as effectively as they normally would, like that. That you never know. But it seemed like there were times where we saw a lot of soft releases from them, particularly Krista last night. Several soft releases leading to over curls. Those are physical issues, physical mistakes that you don't expect from them. So you wonder if the moment and the pressure of being at home, this is a great chance to win. The field is kind of opened up for you as you look at it.
Yeah.
You don't know. I didn't see a lot of tactical errors or things that I thought were tactical errors as I was watching. They played way more aggressively than they normally do. A lot more rocks in play, a lot more points in their games. I don't know if that was a conscious choice or just this is the way it happened, but it was certainly a change in tactics. But I don't think they did anything that stood out to me as like, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you playing that shot? This is putting you in a worse position to win. I didn't see anything like that from them. It was just those little technical errors that you see crop up occasionally. And this week it cropped up more often than it usually does.
Yeah, and I think they were fortunate to win that 1-2 game against New Brunswick. Really, really, really tough miss for Sylvie Quillian on her last in the 11th end, nutting appeal, and just like in the worst spot. You felt so bad on that shot because they had that game, I would say, pretty much free and clear if they make their peels. So that whole game, like McCarville's team was down, and you're right, it was the over curls. I think every miss that she had was an over curl, and that's the kind of thing that you'd think, okay, like I'm going to adjust the broom, unless you don't believe in your head that you're starting it, right? Like, because you're seeing it every time, you'd think, okay, well, let me take more ice. That was the first thing I thought, was every miss is an over curl. Why don't we adjust for it, right?
Right.
And that adjustment didn't seem to happen on the ice. It was the same story last night, right? They got down early based on some over curls and misses. And like you said, they were playing super aggressively. I tweeted even in the second end, like, why are they going so hard right now? They're ignoring stones in the house, putting up corner guards. I mean, they're down 1-0 in the second end of the final. I don't think that's the way that I would. That's definitely not how I expected them to play.
Well, it's not how they normally play.
So yeah, so what do you think the reason was for that? Against a team as good as Kerry Einarson, yes, you need to take advantage and score points when you can, but you also need to limit the opportunity for them to put pressure on you and make those steals.
The only thing I could think of is that because they were struggling with those shots all week and in key moments, maybe the thought was don't have it all come down to that one shot, right? When you play open, you kind of have to be perfect, right? When there's more stuff in play, there can be a little more wiggle room. The pro side miss is there, whereas when it's more open, you kind of just have to make the shot. That's the only thing I could possibly think of. But again, they were doing it all week, so I have no idea. I really don't.
They had 19 stolen ends, the most in the field. I would say like probably half of it is their skill in doing that, and half of it is other teams just missing. Yes, you can force difficult shots to teams, but we saw them steal a lot of points where it was just misses. The game against Nova Scotia, they're up, 9-1?
9-1.
Christina Black comes back, chips away, gets another 4. All these things that Kerry Einarson's up 9-1, you're not getting 4 points.
No. TSN can switch off that game.
Yeah. And that was twice in the same day for McCarville, right? Being up double digits or up 8 points.
Yeah, she was up by 8 twice on Friday.
Yeah. And just
she won both the games.
She did, but anyway. So my take on Team McCarville is the most disappointing silver medal, I think, in a long time.
Yeah.
A long time at the Scotties. Now, we mentioned she beat Andrea Crawford in that 1-2 game.
Mm-hmm.
A devastating loss. My opinion was that they were kind of playing with house money by that point, right? They were playing free and easy. And then that one nose hit on appeal, and I said, "Oh, they're not going to win any." She had a chance to make up for it. Andrea did, and the last there was a little slight miscue by McCarville, but this is a team that played really, really well all week. They were also sort of steal masters. Yeah. I think they benefited from playing in. Were they in Pool A?
No, they were in the wild card pool. Well, the wild card pool.
Yeah, the Pool A. So they weren't in the easier pool.
No, they were in the tough, the loaded up pool.
They did well by jumping on Tracy Fleury's team in that first draw, taking advantage of Selena Negavin's being shifted into the skip position at the last minute.
Second game was against Emma Miscue in her second game skipping ever.
Yeah.
So they got a break on the schedule.
They got a break on the schedule, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Having Sylvie Quillian in that third position was, I think, the secret sauce of the team. Yeah. And they talked about that a lot on the broadcast too. But having Kate Forward and Jill Babin at the front end, we've seen them both there. But I think, I don't know, just the dynamic that they had on the ice this time seemed really positive, really great. I'll give Coach Daryl Nolan a shout out for that. Do you think this is a team, Sean, that we can see make noise at the Scotties again?
I do. I really do. Sylvie's really good. And for as much as we like Rebecca Atkinson, and that's probably the most success that Andrew's had at Scotties, was playing with Rebecca Atkinson at third. I think Sylvie's a little better. And we saw it yesterday in that semifinal. She was making great shots, a couple really nice run backs. She calls line phenomenally well. And that's the benefit of her being a skip her whole life, that she can call those line calls. And I love it too. And they were talking about how the front end just ignores Andrea when Andrea's throwing on the line call. They're like, we don't believe you. Sylvie's a wonderful addition to the team. And I think they could make noise in the future if they decide to continue to play together. They, as you said, benefited a little bit from things beyond their control, but they played really well. And they're a team certainly that coming back could be certainly if we go back to pool play, championship pool, you would certainly think that they're a championship pool scenario, and then maybe a playoff in a 4-team playoff in a traditional page. It's going to be tough, but they could. And they're more of a threat now than they used to be with that lineup change.
Yeah, would you say they're like maybe a step above a Suzanne Burt at this point?
I think so.
Are they getting into that McCarville territory? And should we expect to see them playing a little more on the tour?
I don't know, but that's if they want to. I mean, they're
Yeah.
all not in their 20s, right? So real life gets in the way, finances can get in the way of that. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't expect them to pull a Gushu and just start playing on tour all the time in their 30s the
Yeah.
way he did. But they could fill that McCarville role. And again, this is another team. You hate to sort of maybe see a concentration of talent within some of the smaller provinces. But again, this is another team that to me is an example of why I like the format, that
Mhm.
this is their chance to come, and they can play with these teams, but they don't have the opportunity or potentially the time to invest in the tour. So I like it.
Yeah, yeah, I like it too. I like it too. So we've talked about the top three. Any other teams you want to touch on, Sean?
Yeah, let's real quick. Kerry Galusha, the Territories make the playoffs. I don't care that it was a 16 playoff. They made the playoffs, and it was great. Good for
Yeah.
Kerry Galusha. Good for Joanne Rizzo. The shot she made against Mackenzie Zacharias Friday morning. I was out of my chair when I saw it, like, because I didn't expect her to make it.
Yeah.
Just an amazing around the horn shot, 4-3. Kind of a bummer that they gave up three right back
Right
the
back.
next
Yeah.
end, but she made it. It was great. She had no reaction to it. It was amazing. It was so much fun, I think, for them to make the playoffs. I said last year that I hope Kerry Galusha didn't retire after the bubble, because she deserves an event with people there where she can kind of get her flowers, if you will, from the crowd.
Mm.
And I maintain that she still deserves that if she wants to keep playing. But this was really nice to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It was a lot of hard work has gone into that team and making them better, and they had a great week. You know,
Yeah.
beat some big names. Had to beat Laura Walker on the last night to get in. Did it, and yeah, it was very very good to see. Quickly, Mackenzie Zacharias' team, a lot of progress this year from last year. Flashes of brilliance, flashes of youth as well
Mm-hmm.
that can get you into trouble, but they'll be a force on the scene for a long time to come.
Yeah, no question. Really good performance for them. Of course, they've played in two Scotties, haven't played in one with fans yet, and all the other goings ons of a traditional
Yeah.
Scotties. But maybe that's good for them the next time they get back.
Mhm.
That the on ice stuff won't be the issue. It's just, oh, what's this? The patch? What? Huh? And autograph sessions and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
really great performance for them. Disappointing weeks for BC and Marianne Arsenault, for Alberta and Laura Walker. That was unfortunate. But God bless TSN for Nadine Scotland's baby, and that curling rock hat that they had on the baby. And Vic was right that kid's going to look back and say, "Really, you did that to me?"
Come on, Mom.
On
What?
national TV. Come on, let's get it together. But that was fun.
Yeah.
I think Penny Barker stepped forward for them. Surely, they're disappointed by not making it into the next round, but an improvement from the last time. They gave themselves a chance,
Mhm.
so that was good to see. A tough loss on the first day for them, but an improvement there. Holly Duncan, again, similar performance to the last time. A team that can hang, and if they get back again, I sort of work their way into potentially a playoff or at least the championship pool situation. Another disappointing team over the course of the week, I think Laurie St. George couldn't quite follow up on the success from last year. They struggled through the course of the week, but I would expect them to come back multiple times if they choose to continue to play together.
Yeah, yeah. We had Holly Duncan started 0-4 and then
Yeah.
rattled off 4 wins in a row.
Yeah.
Also, a shout out to them. Two members of their team are 7 months pregnant, I think, 6 or 7 months pregnant. So,
Crazy.
Big time kudos. We talked a lot about Rachel Holman last year, so I didn't want to miss that. Sean, we haven't talked about Christina Black.
No, we haven't.
And the team from Nova Scotia. And that's a crime that we've waited, 30 minutes into our podcast to talk about her. Great showing from the Blue Nosers. You only wish that the fans could have been there, in their rain hats and literal blue noses to cheer them on, because a lot to be proud of from that team.
Absolutely. Wonderful performance for Christina Black and the team out of Nova Scotia. They were a lot of fun to watch over the course of the week, and a lot was made out of their learning from Mary Einarson. And even Vic commented on it in the essay last night of, you learn from the best, and can you do that? And they beat Mary Einarson 9-3. So really good wins for them over the course of the week. Very impressive. They beat Zacharias, playoff team. They played tight with Kerry Galusha when they played them. That game against Christina McCarville, I know we commented on it, but you're down by 8 points, and it'd be easy to just give up, but they didn't. They kept playing, almost were able to claw their way to a win there. So just a lot of fun to see 2 East Coast teams make the playoffs this week, and congratulations to Christina Black. They have a lot to be proud of.
Absolutely. We even got to see them on TV, so
that's right. Yeah.
Good news for our East Coast friends.
Yeah, I didn't tally it up, but I think most teams got a TV game.
You know what, I'll go through and do the stats.
Check it. Yeah, we'll have to check it, see who didn't. But it was a wonderful week up there in Thunder Bay. Congratulations to the host committee for being able to pull it off. Congratulations to all the players for being able to pull it off. And glad that everyone, despite Tracy Fleury's positive test, is going home safe and sound and healthy. And a wonderful week to watch. I very much enjoyed it, even if I didn't quite get into it the way I normally do. So Scott, what is your memory going to be of the 2022 Scotties?
It's going to be that finish the same time that Rachel Homan and John Morris lost their last round robin game. But it's another one for Einarson.
Mine is going to be that I only heard the word gear once. I wonder why. So that will do it for our discussion of the 2022 Scotties. If you have not yet, please do subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Do likes, ratings, comments, all that good stuff. Helps other people find the show. Head on over to GameOfStonesPod.com. You can find all of our past episodes, plus a link to the merch. All proceeds to Sandra Schmirler Foundation and Food Banks Canada. You can follow along on social media at Game of Stones Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Let us know what you want to hear on the show. Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. We will be back later tonight or tomorrow, depending on when you're listening to this and when this drops, with our full preview of the 4-person Olympic events that are going to be kicking off in a couple days over in Beijing. And later in the week, we'll have a little something about the mixed doubles, our thoughts on that. I didn't want to get too hot takey on it, because that space has been well covered today. So we'll give it a couple days to wrap that all up once the medals have been awarded in Beijing. So that's that. Scott, we played tonight. Do you think we get a 7th win in a row?
Yes.
Okay. Bold prediction.
I have faith in your skipping abilities.
I am not as bullish as you are, Scott. Of course, if we win, it will extend my streak as the skip. It will put us into a 5th month of that streak, because I will have skipped all of February based on buys and off weeks and stuff. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see. So enjoy all the curling out there, everybody. We'll talk to you later in the week. But until then, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.